At the party, there's always one bowl you don't really notice. Beige shells piled like pebbles. A soft green flash hiding inside. Your hand drifts over, cracks one open, and you hear that tiny click. Clean, satisfying, almost rhythmic. Pistachios feel casual, background food. Something you eat while the real conversation happens. But here's the part that should make you pause. You've been calling it a nut your whole life. And botanically, it's closer to an olive than an almond. So, what are you actually eating? Why does the shell look pre-cracked? And how did a desert seed end up everywhere, from luxury desserts to airline snack packs? By the end, you'll have a 5-second way to read a pistachio every time you crack one open. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. A nut in the kitchen, a fruit seed in nature. In the kitchen, nut is a practical word. It means crunchy, oily, snackable, something you roast, salt, and toss into cookies or ice cream. Pistachios sit in the same bowl as almonds and cashews, so your brain files them together and moves on. Nature doesn't organize food by snack aisle logic. Botanically, pistachios are drupes, relatives of cherries, peaches, and olives. And if that word drupe sounds like a textbook term, here's the simple picture. Think peach logic. Fruit on the outside, a hard pit, and a seed inside. A pistachio follows that same architecture. It's a seed inside a fruit's little vault. We just don't eat much of the fruit part. We go straight for what the fruit was protecting. So no, pistachios aren't nuts in the strict botanical sense. But yes, they behave like nuts in the way we cook and snack on them. That split identity is exactly why pistachios feel so familiar, and why they're hiding a surprise in plain sight. And once you see pistachios as seeds wearing armor, the shell suddenly makes sense. The shell opens by itself. That's the point. Pistachios are famous for looking like they've already been cracked. It's easy to assume a machine did it, some clever processing trick designed for lazy snacking. But the split shell isn't a factory shortcut. It's a maturity signal. As pistachios ripen, pressure builds inside. The seam naturally opens, like a door unlatching from within. That little gap is the tree's quiet way of saying, "This seed is ready." It's one of the rare foods where the packaging carries a built-in indicator. So the crack you've been taking for granted isn't convenience. It's biology. It's time made visible. And it hints at where pistachios come from, because foods with built-in toughness usually come from tough places. Born on the desert's edge. Pistachios trace back more than 7,000 years to the Middle East and Central Asia, regions that are now parts of Iran, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan. Not soft farmland, not gentle rainfall. Pistachio trees thrive on edges, hot, dry summers that punish weaker crops and cold winters that reset the cycle. Picture a landscape where the air feels bright and thin. Water is precious. Shade is negotiated. A plant has to be stubborn just to keep existing. Pistachio trees are built for that. They sink deep, hold steady, and keep producing where other crops would surrender. And foods that come from harsh climates often gain an extra layer of meaning. They don't just taste good, they feel earned, like the environment signed the flavor. When food becomes status. In ancient cultures, pistachios weren't just eaten, they were presented, offered, saved. When something is portable, shelf-stable, and energy-dense, yet still rare, it becomes more than food. It becomes a signal. You have access, you have trade, you have wealth, you have time. And time has always been a kind of luxury. There are legends that the Queen of Sheba reserved pistachios for royalty. Whether every detail is historically perfect doesn't matter as much as what the story reveals. People saw pistachios as elite, worthy of special tables and special guests. But the real engine of pistachios' spread wasn't royalty, it was movement. Silk Road Snack: How Pistachios Traveled the World. As empires expanded and trade routes tightened into maps, pistachios traveled west through the Mediterranean, east along the Silk Road. They moved alongside spices, silk, and precious metals, small, valuable, easy to carry. Try to picture the scene: a market at the edge of a desert town, cloth awnings snapping in dry wind, a trader loosening a pouch at his belt. Not a feast, just something dependable. He pours a small handful into his palm. Beige shells, green centers, a food you can carry without a kitchen. That's why pistachios made sense for travelers. They didn't spoil quickly. They packed energy. They could survive long distances in saddlebags and satchels. And they had something else going for them: the ritual of eating. Crack, peel, chew. A tiny repeated comfort in uncertain places. In many cultures, that combination, portability and a feeling of abundance, made pistachios a celebration food. Served during festivals, gifted as good fortune, set out to make a table feel generous. But there's a deeper reason pistachios have always been valuable, and it has nothing to do with taste. It's patience. The 10-year wait. A newly planted pistachio tree can take 7 to 10 years before it produces a meaningful harvest. Imagine planting something and waiting a decade just to know it truly worked. Not a hobby. A commitment that spans jobs, seasons, sometimes entire phases of life. And even after that, pistachios refuse to behave like a neat machine. They often follow alternate bearing. One year, a heavy crop, the next, a lighter one. Like the tree gave everything it had and then went quiet to rebuild. Farmers can't simply demand consistency. They manage around the tree's rhythm. Even pollination carries a strange humility. Pistachio orchards need both male and female trees, and pistachios rely on wind rather than insects. No buzzing workforce, just air. The invisible thing you can't schedule. So behind every casual handful is a chain of conditions. Years of waiting, the right pairing of trees, the cooperation of seasons, and the luck of wind moving at the right moment. Some foods cost more because labor is expensive. Pistachios cost more because time is the real ingredient. From harvest to the click. Once harvested, pistachios are hulled, dried, and often roasted, turned into something that can travel, sit on shelves, and still taste alive. Roasting deepens the flavor and sets the crunch. Salt clings to warm shells. Aroma rises in that unmistakable nutty sweet way. And then the snack becomes a rhythm your hands understand. Crack, peel, taste, repeat. That tiny click isn't just a snack sound. It's the end of a long agricultural story, compressed into a moment your fingers can feel. And it sets up a detail people rarely stop to question: that green. Why pistachios feel premium. The pistachio's colors look almost designed: beige outside, green inside. In desserts, that green reads as luxury. In a snack bowl, it reads as quality. Your brain sees it and quietly assumes, this one is better. But it isn't dye. Pistachios carry natural pigments like chlorophyll and lutein, and they can retain that color even after drying and roasting. Many seeds darken or dull as they mature. Pistachios can keep that gentle green, like they refuse to fully blend into the background. And here's the subtle part. It's not just color. It's a signal your brain learned to trust. Green suggests freshness, care, something handled well. So even before you taste, you're already leaning toward premium. That's one reason pistachios became a dessert favorite long before artificial food coloring was common. When you needed an elegant green that felt natural, pistachios could deliver it. Before food coloring, pistachio was the color. Across the Middle East and the Mediterranean, pistachios slip into sweets like baklava and into pastes that carry both flavor and color. In South Asia, they appear in milk-based desserts made for festivals, foods designed to feel celebratory the moment they arrive on the table. They also show up in savory dishes, rice, sauces, garnishes that add richness, not just decoration. And in many Western countries, pistachios became what they are for millions today. Snacks, baking mix-ins, and the flavor you recognize instantly in ice cream. Different roles, same reputation. Not quite ordinary, not quite indulgent. Comfortably in between. California made pistachios a modern snack. Pistachios were known for centuries, but widespread popularity in the United States arrived much later, in the 20th century. The reason was climate. Pistachios need hot summers and the right kind of winter, and parts of California matched their original home well enough for commercial orchards. Over time, improved farming and selective breeding increased yields and consistency. What was once a rare trade item became a modern routine, sold in supermarkets, poured into trail mixes, stacked in gas station aisles, handed out on flights. It's a strange modern mirror. A seed that once traveled in saddlebags now travels in foil packets. Different roads, same snack. And once you know the story, pistachios become easy to read in real time. The 5-second rule. Next time you pick up a pistachio, use this 3-beat mantra. Split means ready. Seed, not nut. Green is the signature. That's it. 3 quick notices. The split shell usually signals maturity. The kernel you eat is a seed from a drupe-style fruit, not a true nut in strict botanical terms. And the green isn't decoration. It's part of why pistachios have looked special for so long. Back to the bowl. Now return to the bowl at the party, or the airline tray, or the quiet moment on your couch when your hands are busy and your mind is somewhere else. The shells are still beige, the click is still small, the taste is still familiar. But the meaning shifts. You're holding a seed shaped by deserts, empires, and trade, grown through years of waiting and wind-blown chance. A simple snack that asked for patience long before it ever asked for your attention. And maybe that's the real lesson pistachios hide in plain sight. The world is full of things we call boring only because they're close to us, not because they're empty. Ordinary objects aren't ordinary, they're just familiar. So the next time you hear that click, let it be a tiny door, opening onto a long human story. One last thing. What food have you been calling the wrong name your whole life? Drop it in the comments. What snack, spice, or simple thing should we unmask next? If you enjoyed this kind of small journey, from curiosity to understanding to something you can actually feel, consider subscribing so you don't miss the secrets waiting in the next episode.